stolen gold. 500 years ago, soldiers from Spain battled the Aztecs to take their land and treasures. Inside this issue, amazing facts about Mexico you'll want to share. Take the voting challenge. World history. Lost treasure. Gold found in Mexico once belonged to a mighty empire. As you read, why do experts think the gold bar is such an important artifact? In 1981, a worker was digging at the site of a new bank in Mexico City, Mexico. He pulled something surprising from the mud. It was a gold bar that weighed about 4 pounds. Archaeologists studied the bar, but questions remained. Who did it belong to? Now, nearly 40 years later, experts agree that the gold was stolen from the Aztecs. A powerful people. The Aztecs settled in what is now known as central Mexico about 700 years ago. They built a mighty civilization that thrived for about 200 years. There were several million Aztecs, says Michael Smith, a professor at Arizona State University. They had a large, complex society. The Aztecs built amazing temples and palaces. They developed advanced ways of farming and created a writing system that used symbols. Aztec children went to school and studied art, history, and music. Surprise visitors. In 1519, the Aztec Empire was at the peak of its power. That year, conquistadors, or soldiers from Spain, arrived. They were led by Hernán Cortés. The Aztec ruler, Montezuma II, wasn't sure he could trust the visitors, but he invited them to stay in his palace in Tenochtitlan, the biggest Aztec city. The Spaniards weren't very good guests. For one thing, they began stealing Aztec jewelry. They had metalworkers melt down a lot of the jewelry and form it into gold bars, Smith explains. The sad night. Soon the Spanish soldiers took Montezuma II prisoner. He was killed on June 30th, 1520. Historians aren't sure exactly who killed him. But the Aztecs blamed the Spanish. They chased the invaders from the city. The Spanish soldiers carried bars of gold and other treasures they had stolen from the Aztecs. Some soldiers dropped the gold as they tried to escape. Other soldiers fell into the city's waterways and drowned. The night became known as La Noche Triste, or the Sad Night. Montezuma's death was the beginning of the end of the Aztec Empire. After fleeing Tenochtitlan that night, Cortés and his army returned about a year later. They conquered the Aztecs and set up a new colony. A golden clue. The gold bar discovered in 1981 was found in the area where the soldiers escaped. Experts examined the gold with a special type of X-ray machine. This helped them match it with other gold Aztec artifacts from that time period. Smith says the gold bar is the first solid proof of the events that took place on La Noche Triste. It's a real connection to one of the great ancient civilizations. Today, Mexico City is built on the buried ruins of the Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan. Map it out. Which body?
"500 years ago, The Aztecs ruled over a powerful empire in what is now central Mexico. Then, suddenly, their great civilization came to an end. Here's what you need to know about the Aztec Empire. Their capital city was built in the middle of a lake. The center of the Aztec Empire was the capital, Tenochtitlan. More than 200,000 people lived there. They used canals as roadways and traveled around by boat. At the center of the capital, the Aztecs built elaborate palaces and massive temples. The ruins of Tenochtitlan are buried beneath Mexico City. Aztec society was ahead of its time. The Aztecs were warriors and farmers and architects. They had bustling marketplaces where they traded and sold goods. They developed a complex calendar and created a writing system of pictures and symbols to represent words and ideas. The Aztec language is still spoken today. About 1.5 million people in Central America still speak a version of the main Aztec language, known today as Nahuatl. You might even know a few words that have their origins in Nahuatl, like chocolate, avocado, tomato, and chili. After 200 years in power, the Aztec Empire fell practically overnight. In 1519, Spanish conqueror Hernán Cortés arrived in the Aztec capital. The Aztec ruler, Montezuma II, welcomed Cortés and his soldiers. But the Spaniards weren't there to make friends. They looted the city, stealing gold and treasures. The Aztecs chased Cortés and his men from the city in June 1520. But a year later, Cortés returned to Tenochtitlan. He found the Aztecs weakened by diseases that the Spanish had brought to their land. Cortés and his men conquered the Aztecs. And just like that, the once powerful empire was gone. Now it's your turn. Can you find another interesting fact about the ancient civilization of the Aztecs?
Communities. What's up, world? Mexico. Learn what everyday life is like in this nation next door. Imagine you live in Mexico and you just woke up. Buenos días. That's how you say good morning in Spanish. Breakfast is your favorite meal. Beans with rice and tea. Because it's Saturday, you don't have school. After you eat, your little sister asks you to watch Cleo and Cuquin with her. It's a TV show about using your imagination to have fun. Your abuelo, or grandfather, lives with you. He's promised to teach you how to play jaialai when you're older. That super fast sport is tricky for kids. So you spend an hour playing soccer with your amigos, or friends. Hungry for lunch? It's the biggest meal of the day. After sharing grilled chicken and tortillas with the whole family, you take a siesta, or nap. Don't forget, your cousin's birthday party is tonight. You hope she'll have a piñata filled with Vero mango. Those mango-flavored lollipops covered in chili powder are delicious. Keep reading to learn more about Mexico. How does it compare with your community? Help wanted. This axolotl is native to lakes in Mexico. Its habitat is in danger, and scientists are needed to help the species survive. Let's eat. Street food served from carts or food trucks is popular in Mexico. Favorite street food includes tacos, tamales, and quesadillas. Yum! Fun and games. Soccer is the most popular sport in Mexico, but baseball is a favorite too. This boy is on the Mexican team playing in a recent Little League World Series. Celebrate. A holiday called Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is celebrated from October 31st until November 2nd. To honor dead relatives, people put on skeleton costumes and dance in parades. Map it out. Mexico has many different landscapes. It has mountains, beaches, rainforests, and deserts. It also has one of the largest cities in the world, Mexico City. How is this map similar to the map on page 3 of this issue? How is it different? My story. My mom's in the Navy. 10-year-old Travis King III of Georgia describes what life is like with a parent in the military. November 11th is Veterans Day, a holiday honoring people who have served in America's military. In my family, it's a special day. My mom serves in the U.S. Navy. My mom is Jasmine Waters, and she's part of a team that watches out for safety on a Navy ship. She's been in the Navy since I was 2. She sometimes gets deployed or sent on military missions. When she's away, my grandparents take care of me. This year, my mom was deployed for 206 days in a row. That's the longest a Navy ship has ever been at sea. To stay in touch, we FaceTimed, texted, and emailed. When my mom got back in August, she surprised me. I was at the park when my mom snuck up behind me. I jumped up to hug her. I was so excited. We spent weeks doing fun stuff together. Soon my mom will leave on another big deployment. It will be hard being apart, but I am proud of her and I'm glad she does what she does. Whenever I see signs thanking veterans, I say to myself, hey, one day they'll be honoring my mom. Show your support.
Honoring our veterans. What is a veteran? A veteran is someone who has served in the armed forces. Every U.S. veteran has served in one of these branches of the armed forces. Each branch has different jobs and purposes. For example, the Army mostly defends on land, the Air Force in the sky. People in the Navy and the Coast Guard spend a lot of time at sea. But members of each branch can have other jobs. Some people in the Army, Navy, and Marines fly jets and helicopters too. While these branches are separate groups, they often work together. All branches of the military fall under the leadership of the President of the United States. The Constitution says that the President is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. On November 11th, we celebrate Veterans Day. We honor men and women who have served and protected our country and our allies, especially in times of war. Many of them put their own lives at risk and were wounded in combat. Currently, there are about 4 million veterans in the U.S. who suffered disabilities while serving in the military. We can say thank you to our veterans every day of the year, but Veterans Day is an especially good time to do it. So let's honor our veterans.
Company in Japan flying down the highway. A company in Japan recently showed off an amazing invention, a flying car. To fly, the car doesn't need to take off from a runway like an airplane. The inventors say it's the smallest vehicle that can rise straight up from the ground. There are still many things to figure out, like how much it would cost. Traffic rules and signs would also need to change. But the company plans to start selling the car in 2023. Your turn. Name 3 ways that flying cars would change your life.